Oh, I'm so excited about this episode. The last time I had a guest on, it was called Let's Talk About Sex. And I'm thinking of calling it, yeah, I know.
So good.
I know. You can just tell it's going to be fun. So this time round, I'm thinking about calling it Let's Talk About Money because two most important subjects in the world, I think, as far as I'm concerned, sex and money. I did it that way around. Make of it what you will, Ray. Um,
There's lots of
um,
links as well.
well, yeah, I think we might end up, we might accidentally end up talking about both, but I'll try and rein in the sex talk for those of you. A couple of people have come back to me and gone, oh, it was just one that I couldn't listen to. And I'm like, fair enough, it was pretty awesome. But anyway, I am super excited to be able to this like this for me feels a little bit like, oh, I got one of my heroes onto my podcast. I didn't think she'd say yes. I was so excited when she said yes. I said, Ray, would you come on my podcast? And she said yes.
Of course.
So I am delighted to be talking about money with the person I trust more than anyone else in the world to talk about money, which is Ray Dodd. I am going to let her introduce herself, but I just want to start out by saying that I was introduced to her by a couple of friends.
Mm.
Who you will know from this podcast, Nicola Salmon and Jeanette. Jeanette, the mindset nutritionist, she laughs every time I say this. But Jeanette and Nicola both went, oh, you've got to meet Ray. And Nicola works with Ray. Jeanette hasn't worked with Ray
I
yet,
know. I was like, I don't know this Jeanette. Why,
no,
Jeanette? Why are
I
you not in my in my
oh, believe
world?
me, she wants to be. I think that's kind of one of her goals in life, really. But she is the one who, like, was so like loves you so much, even though she's not even worked with you. And they both
Mm,
said, find Ray, go on Ray's Instagram. And so I did. And you just happened to be doing some lives, and I just happened to watch the first one, and I was hooked. And that first
mm.
podcast, and that was it. I was like, that I must work with this person. So over to you, Ray, if you wouldn't mind introducing myself. You can introduce
I
me
can
too if you want.
introduce you.
Introducing yourself to my audience, please.
Okay, so I'm Ray Dodd. I am a money mindset coach, and my dream, my actual dream, which I love that I'm confessing to your community, like straight away. My dream is to be the go-to money coach for socially conscious human beings. So I know that people, particularly people conditioned as women, and Asha and I are going to have a chat on my podcast about this. When I talk about socially conditioned as women, I think people think that sometimes when you're saying socially conditioned as women, what you're trying to avoid is saying women
Yeah.
and non-binary people or and trans people. That's actually not that I'm not trying to avoid saying anything. What I'm saying is our conditioning as women is different to being a woman or however else you identify gender wise or otherwise. When you've been conditioned as a woman, you have been conditioned to be kind. You've been conditioned to deny what you actually want for the sake of kindness and for what other people want. There's a lot of martyrdom involved. You've been conditioned to deny your desires. And obviously, you'll talk about this on this podcast, but like around food and around sex and all of those things, you know. So that's just touching the surface, but all these different ways we've been conditioned around race as well, and around, God, so much they interact with how we interact with money and making money, particularly in our businesses. So I'm a money coach who I do mindset, but I do because it is mindset that it's impacting. It's impacting what we believe and what we think and the stories we create, but it doesn't come from us. A lot of money mind coaches they might go as far as your family. They rarely talk, and they'll talk about like societal stories, like, you know, the idea that money is dirty. Like if you pick a penny up and it goes in your mouth when you're a kid, your parents will be like, oh, don't put that in your mouth, it's dirty, or money doesn't grow on trees. All of those sorts of like almost like folk tales and legends and lore that we get from growing up. But what they don't normally talk about is how baked into society it is that money is for some people and not for other people, and the ways in which that leads our brains to believe it's safe for some people and not for us, and the ways that leads us to avoid it and keeps us struggling and stuck and under earning. And then you've like opened a soapbox, which is very easy to do with me, and then that keeps us away from the sort of power that we can hold and influence we can hold when we have money, which leaves the world very, very wonky in terms of the direction it's going and what's prioritized. in all sorts of places, in governments, in, you know, all of those sort of more defined structures. Does that make sense? That was quite a like whistle stop tour of how I do
It was
stuff.
amazing, but I'm also a little bit annoyed because I was so proud of myself that I'd like got all these questions ready, and then you just went and asked stuff. So now I have to go through, but like, just already
We
said
can delve into them way more deeply though.
that. All right, so okay, here's a good question to start actually, and I think this is why do we struggle to talk about money? Why do you think we struggle to even talk about it?
So I think this is very, very cultural, actually. Like if you speak to, if you're talking to Americans, they
Mm,
don't struggle to talk about it so much. And even like, so we're in the UK, even talking to somebody who's not white British, who and is like first or second or even third generation, culturally, money is not so much of a taboo subject
mm,
in every culture. It is in some. It's
mm,
not just white British people or people that have like that sort of infiltrated, that kind of white Britishness has infiltrated their sense of culture as well. But so I think in the UK, I think it's I'd be answering that question differently depending what culture I'm talking to
mm.
about it, because there'd be different levels of it. I It's so interesting in England or in Britain, the way that we are quite scathing of Americans and how much they own their ambition. And I think we've got so much to learn from them on that. I am not saying everybody knows this, and most of any Americans that will be listening to this, I'm sure agree. I'm not saying America doesn't have its problems, just like the UK doesn't have, like, has multiple problems. But I think we can learn a lot from
Yeah.
that kind of entrepreneurial spirit that exists in the US.
Mm.
In the UK, I mean, geez, I forget that we don't talk about money. So if I'm at a dinner party, I'm a nightmare. I said to somebody recently who just got a new bill, I was like, oh, what pay rise did you get with that job then? What are you being paid now? And the whole table looked at me like, sorry, what did you just? And I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to talk about this openly. I've forgotten, because as Asha knows in plenty, I'm like, and how much did you make? And how's that going? And what? And then and we just talk so openly.
We do.
I forget. So I think we don't talk about it like for lots of hangovers from various things. Like we don't talk about a lot of stuff in the
Yeah.
UK, do we? We don't
No.
talk about um sex. We don't talk about feelings. My mother-in-law actually once said, oh, she was complimenting someone and she said, they're such a nice person. They never tell you how they're feeling.
It's true because then that's messy. It's messy talking about
Yes,
feelings.
yes, yes.
Mm,
And it's burdening people with your problems.
mm.
And this is a cultural thing in lots of spaces that we don't want to appear weak. We don't want to appear like we've got problems. We need to be somebody who takes care of ourselves. And I think with feminism, that's actually become more complicated in some
Mm.
ways. And that, women are now being asked, or people that aren't middle class white men, basically, and working class men are being asked to show up and make money, but can't talk about it to learn the ins and outs of it. You just should know. Why don't you
Yeah.
know? Um, and I think we don't talk about things because it's always been a very closed, it's the boys club, as in, the room they go off into to drink and they talk about business.
Mhm.
And traditionally the women would stay and they'd sew and they'd talk about gossipy stuff, like more relationships and feelings and stuff, and the men went and talked about business. And that is very much baked into society
Mm.
generally, and it's really gate kept information. And it's become this thing of, and there's loads of spaces we see this showing up, like academia can be very like this as well, where there's just a general sense of, well, why are you asking? You should know that. Like, if you don't know that, I'm not going to tell you. You just need to know. How can you not know that? um and there's shame attached to money as well, and it's been a method of control. Like, we don't talk about salaries. That's a method of control, so that you don't have to pay people fairly, because they won't discuss their salary with each other. Yeah.
Like
Lots of
literally, like
things.
mind blown emoji coming out of my head right now. Like, yes, I never thought about that.
Mm,
So true. And that's what I was thinking. Like, even in cultures where it's okay to talk about how much money you're earning or how much you made,
mm.
we still don't talk about how you're supposed to do that. Like, we don't
No.
we don't you know, like I don't think we do it with kids either. We don't teach them.
No,
Yeah, I've taught my kids how to use a washing machine. I don't know if I've taught my kids how to do taxes yet,
no.
but like they need to learn these things.
Yeah, but it's not in school. Like,
Mhm.
really, it should be one of the main things in school should be if you're in this situation, this is when you pay this tax. Like, there's so many people that have been caught out on tax
Yeah,
because they literally didn't know
yeah,
that they're
and
meant to pay a certain tax. And how could they? When are we taught that?
yeah, and even I mean, like I you try and read the stuff, and it's just
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that's not written in English. So
But that's why it's like legal language. All of these things are very much kept so that the
mm,
lay person, if you think about historically, when most people, only the most educated, higher class people could read, that's how they kept information from people. That's how they stopped. If you look at enslaved people in the US, that's how they stopped people becoming free was gatekeeping, keeping reading from them, saying they couldn't do that. And as they started to, as they became educated, that's part of how the slaves were freed. How
mm,
that all ended is partly due to education, but we have hangovers of that still existing in lots of spaces. Very patriarchal kind of method of controlling people is not to talk about things. It's why one of the big reasons that a lot of my money work happens in community,
mm,
because it's so powerful to freely talk about things and to share information and like let it become something that, and women particularly are conditioned to be in competition with each other. Like there's
mm,
only so much space
mm,
for, you know, the intelligent person or the successful person. There's only so much space for women in those roles. And so they can become, that we internalize that and then we start like bitching about each other and really trying to tear each other down if we're not conscious of it.
mm,
And I've been there, I've done that.
mm,
Certainly when I was a teenager. And so it's a really interesting thing of like that's how we control people is we say there's not enough space for you and we tell them that and you can't talk about it. You can't share information and we attach shame to things and then we keep them in the place we want them to be in. It's it's like not the cheeriest way
pretty bleak,
for
but
us
it's all
to
right because
start.
there's no that it gets better.
There's
I
so
feel like
much
we're
hope.
setting it
There's
up.
so much hope.
There's so much hope. Fine, it's all right. Keep going, people. Don't give up now. This is not the time to stop. This is you need to just keep listening because it
Yeah.
gets better and
Yeah.
better. But actually, I love that, and one of the things I love about working with you and in all the different spaces and all the groups sort of courses I've done with you and the community I've been with you, is that it is predominantly women, but
Mm,
also it but not exclusively,
no.
and it's anyone who can relate to that the social conditioning of women, and that's why I think
Yes.
it's so important. You talk about conditioning all the time, and I love
Yes.
that because it is
Yeah.
exactly what's happened. We experienced this from when we were little children, before we
Yes.
can remember.
Yes.
We were assigned roles. We were told this is
Yeah.
what you can do, can't do,
Yeah.
and it's as you said, partly it's to do with being a woman or female, or whatever you want to call it. You're assigned female at birth, and
Yes,
that's what you
exactly.
get
People
taught.
people see a vagina and
That's it.
certain things happen after that.
Exactly.
Like certain choices are made for you
Exactly.
about how you're going to be and also what it looks like for you to be kind, what it looks like for you to care about people, what it looks
Mm-hmm.
like for you to interact socially is different and for you to your dreams and that's something we talk to kids about like what do you want to be when you're older
Yeah.
and all of those things and those things just start little messages are fed in bit by bit when just from the moment people figure out
Yeah.
what gender they believe we are. Let's put it
Yes.
that way.
And nowadays they
That
do it
moment.
beforehand, right? They do the party, they do the big balloon that explodes or the cake that's either pink or blue. So they've decided even before you're born, this is how we're going to raise you.
Don't
And
get me started on gender
we,
reveals, actually.
maybe when we're talking on your podcast, we can talk about
Yeah.
that because that we'll get distracted. But it's true, and I think, um, I remember my parents telling me that I could be whatever I wanted to be. So
Yes.
I was
Yes.
raised by feminist parents who were like,
Yes.
absolutely, you can be a doctor. Don't you want to
Yeah.
be? You should be a doctor. That's a good idea. Become a doctor. It was very
Yeah.
convenient,
Yeah.
but nobody sat me down and said it's that you can interact with money the
Mm.
same way that boys
Yeah.
interact with money.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can be a doctor, but no one ever said, and you can earn the same amount of money as your male peers.
Yeah,
But we don't. There's a massive gender pay gap, as we all know.
exactly.
And then, as I said, in your group, it's also people who have, like you said, have other reasons why they've been told that they're not able to make as
Yes.
much money, or that
Yes.
if you want to make money, you have to behave a certain way. And we
Yeah.
talk about race sometimes, and like, the kind of conditioning about, you have to be kind at all costs, and all of
Yeah.
that stuff applies, right? It
Yes,
applies.
and so for Black women, for example, where there is this stereotype of being angry and more aggressive, and they are read as being more aggressive much more easily than a white woman would be, particularly like a white middle-aged, well, no, any white woman really. Like you're not going to be read as aggressive, like you're not going to be read as aggressive so easily. So you can be it's available for you to be more forthright in certain things.
Mm,
Whereas actually, we talk a lot in Plenty about the way that in like the safest thing for the majority of women is invisibility. A lot
mm,
of women will put themselves into an invisible space. But for other people who don't have that available to them, they will try. So for example, somebody who's trans but doesn't isn't passing, or somebody who's black, or somebody who I'm trying to think of other things, just it's in a fat body. My God,
mm, mm.
that's not invisibility, not so easily available to that person. So what they'll do is they'll try and make themselves as invisible as they can.
Yeah.
So, and that involves extra work.
Mm,
I'll be extra nice. What I notice with people in fat bodies particularly is I'll make sure I'm dressed nicely all the time. So
mhm,
I won't be wearing slobby clothes where the presumption will be I'm lazy. And I think actually this would be true for Black women too.
mhm,
You know, like I don't want to appear like I don't look after myself, because
mhm.
there are stereotypes around that. And so there's all this extra effort you've got to do to sort of fit in enough to be invisible,
Yes.
like to find this bit.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. It's
Yes.
energy we could be using elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it really does play into, you're not gonna make more money being invisible.
Yeah.
Like,
Hold that thought, because like I said, we're going to get to that. And Ray, you just keep answering my questions. It's just, you're making my life really hard. We should have planned this beforehand. But anyway, I wanted to ask a quick before we get into how we can make money, because that is so important. And
mm,
Ray has taught me everything about this. So that's why I wanted to share it. And I'm so glad you talked about fat bodies, because obviously the majority of people who are listening in
mm,
have experienced weight stigma,
yeah,
and that invisibility piece that you talk
yeah,
about and that you've spoken about, making yourself small. I was just
yeah,
like, oh, I can relate to
yeah.
this on so many different
It's
levels.
such a nightmare, isn't it? Because you're in order to be an acceptable human in society, particularly with that kind of conditioning, as that female conditioning, or I don't really like saying female conditioning, but being conditioned as a woman, you you try and make yourself small, but you literally can't. You
Yeah.
literally can't. And also, I often think about the parts of my personality that are related to my fatness. Like
Yeah.
I am quite a big person.
Yeah.
And if I see bigger bodied people around, I love it when they are boldly like, I mean, I'm wearing today, because you won't be able to see, but like leopard print and a like neon scarf, and I nearly wore neon pink lipstick. And there's a lot of, I try and channel Mr. T when it comes to gold jewelry. I'm not quite doing it as a couple today, but like I love to see that in other people. Like I
Mm,
like to see their body not determining their smallness, like in and like all of, and it's impossible to be invisible
yes.
when you look at certain ways, and there's a myriad of ways that looks, and yet we spend our time constantly trying to do that, and that's exhausting and pointless, because it's not going to happen. It's an absolute, you're set up to fail in it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
As I say, you're unshrinkable. And that's literally, but
Yes.
also metaphorically, like,
Yes.
you're not supposed to shrink. And it seems,
No.
when you say it like that, oh, yeah, we're just trying to make ourselves smaller.
Yeah.
Why would anyone want to do that? Like, surely,
Right.
if you want to be successful, you have to make yourself bigger. And that's what boys are taught. Like,
Yes,
be
so
loud.
exactly. I think, and it's available, there is no space that's available to women that involves being bigger.
Mm,
Whereas for men, they're not allowed to be fat too. That's true. I'm not
yeah.
suggesting that's not true, but they are allowed to be very muscly. Like
Yes.
we've been watching, the Gladiators has come back. We watched this with my kids, and it was it was so lovely to do that again. One of them on there is called Giant, and his thighs, I think, are as wide as I am, and I'm not like like I'm fairly wide. So it's like that's allowed, like that male gaze bigness is allowed, but there is no, and we can substitute male gaze with societal gaze because they're actually the same thing. There is no societal gaze that involves women being big.
No.
Pregnancy, a little bit, that kind of gets a bit celebrated, but you get too big.
Yeah.
There's only still, like, I was a huge,
Yeah.
I'm really small and I had massive babies and I was a huge pregnant person. And I
Yeah.
remember somebody saying, Ray, oh my God, Ray, you're massive. I mean, you're comedy large, is what they said to me. I was like, and I did look like a weeble, but that's fine.
I was like belly and like legs and arms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I'm a tiny human.
Yeah, and people would always say like, "Are you sure it's not twins?" And
Yeah.
like, yes, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
off.
It's still, no, like it's still my body. Like, leave
Yeah,
me alone. So
yeah,
I still like went too far
yeah,
according to what I'm
yeah,
allowed to be when it comes to be my body size. So there literally isn't a space. If
yeah,
somebody can think about it, please DM me on Instagram. I'd love to hear one. I don't love that there isn't a space, but I
mm,
cannot think of a single space women are allowed to be big.
yeah. Apart from like, I think there are some really good like fat positive spaces
Oh
that are
yeah, but
encouraging, but
yes,
but
they're
that's intentional.
countercultural though.
They're
They're
countercultural.
female. I would say they're more. I don't
Yeah,
know,
they're
male,
women
not
led.
like female gaze, but they're more that different, like
Yeah,
that countercultural gaze rather
yeah,
than
they are. Agreed, which is
societal
great.
gaze.
So
Yeah.
one more question before we talk about how we do make money and talk about
Mm,
plenty, because
mm,
you don't just talk about money, you talk about plenty, which is a whole different thing.
yes.
But anyway,
Yeah.
before we go into that, I want to ask one last question, which is something I really struggled with for a very long time, and
Mm,
you really helped me answer this.
mm,
Is it okay? I'm an ethical person, and you sort of touched on
mm.
this at the beginning. I care about society. I genuinely do. I want to leave this world, to do my
Yes.
part, to leave this world in a slightly better state than I found it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I can fix the world, but like my little corner of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Um, is it okay to want to make money?
Yes.
What does that say about me as a person that I want to make money? I know the answer is yes, but
Yes. There
but
we
it
go.
doesn't always feel that way.
No, it doesn't. And I think the first thing to do again is to look at the different messages directed to different people. And it's different messages again, um, levied at people assigned with vaginas and people assigned with penises. But also it's the different messages if you're left wing or right wing.
Yeah,
It's different messages if you are wanting to be considered kind
yeah,
or ambitious. Like those two are the like and so we need to look at, like, I talk a lot about the way particularly the liberal left is like, and this, I'm not the only one who talks about this, but there is a danger of us eating ourselves
mm-hmm.
because there's a really good, I can't remember his name, he's a Scottish comedian, he was the one that stood up against Russell Brand. Anyway, he does a really good sketch about the way that in right-wing circles, they're like happy if you're like vaguely on board. They're like, oh, what about, like, do Black Lives Matter? Oh no, they don't matter. Trans lives? No. What about vegans? Oh no, I am a vegan. Oh, never mind. Come on, you can come on board. It's fine. And then in the left, we're like, you don't think this like minute thing is the same as I do. Get out! You're cancelled. You're terrible. Like, we've got this real homogenization of
Yeah,
our beliefs. And I don't get me wrong, human, like, at the center of it should be, in my opinion, human rights. Like, the debate around human rights is problematic when we start saying, like, caveating
yeah,
what's available for different humans. But we also, I do think, get very like, do you want to make money? You're not really like, you're clearly a Tory then. And we bin
yeah,
people. And what is happening is we're so busy infighting about the correct way to be
yeah.
a lefty liberal ethical person
Mm-hmm.
that we are leaving the right to have a lot more power than us because they're not fighting about it. They're getting on with advancing their agenda
Yeah,
and advancing their beliefs, and to be fair, seeing the problems they see. The example I always use with this as well is, like, if all the money is in is much more like on the right of the political spectrum, which it is, they are going to see the issues that their much more middle class, much more privileged experiences allow them to see. And the example I always use is I used to do youth work in London, and it was when Boris was mayor.
Mm.
And when he came in, oh my God, this story, every time I tell it, I'm like, I just can't believe that this is a true story, but it is. When he came in to be the mayor of London, he abolished a concert that used to happen, like a mini festival that used to happen in London called the Rise Festival, which was an anti-racism festival, because he said racism is not a problem in London. We're a big multicultural city. It's not a problem. What these kids need, what I'm going to redirect this money towards, is they are all going to learn Latin in schools, because when they learn Latin, that will fix some of these issues.
Mm.
And I remember in the youth work office and going to these various different youth organizations that I used to talk to, and we were all like, what the actual? But, and this is not me defending Boris, because that is batshit, that whole situation. But that was what he saw with his Etonian, very white, like lily white, not upper class view on things. That's what he saw. And if we had more people in positions of power with more money, with more influence, then what would they see? What would what sort of things would they be redirecting funds towards?
Yeah.
And so I think not only is it okay for people who care about other humans, about human rights, where ethics is a big value of theirs, not only is it okay for them to make money, we have to, and we have to stop correlating money like with unkindness. At some point we separated money, and it's capitalism, but we separated money from kindness, and we've said that we can have one or the other. We can care about people or we can care about money. We can't do both. And that is just the most, that's what some of us need to take responsibility for. That's where we've played a part in the mess that we have in front of us. Yes, it's systemic and it's lots of stuff, but if we keep perpetuating that idea, if we keep saying, and I know that people are going to be listening to this going like, yes, but I'm really anti-capitalist. You can be anti-capitalist and make money. It doesn't, they're two, like, commerce existed before capitalism existed.
Yes.
And especially it's actually a lot of the later stages of capitalism that have become so much more problematic. It's actually quite recent that it's become really like profits before people.
Yes.
Like it is now. You don't have to engage in that. You never have to put profits before people, and you can still make lots of money. You never have to hold on to that money. You can be someone who has enough to live, and your enough to live might look vastly different to someone else's, and you can redirect that money all the time, but it's coming through you, and it's going not to teaching Latin to inner city kids, but to things they actually need.
Yes, that man became our prime minister. I just want to point that out.
Yes,
he led this country for many years. And
yes, even before he was prime minister, he was partly leading this country.
That's so true. Well, yeah, he led us into Brexit.
With
but
Brexit,
anyway,
exactly.
Again, let's not talk about that. But it's so true that what you taught me, and this is really important. This was a life-changing moment for me when you taught me that money is just a form of energy.
Yes.
And that we assign all sorts of kind of beliefs and attitudes and judgments towards money. It's kind of like we do towards fat.
Yes.
Fat is literally
it's
just an adipose cell. It's just fat. But we have assigned a whole bunch of beliefs and judgments and stereotypes onto money itself and the people who make money.
Yeah.
And I absolutely, when you said that, I was just like, and I had to start like working on a lot of these ideas and mindsets. We haven't brought up mindsets yet, but mindsets about like, what is money? And when I started to see it as energy, I started to see that actually I give a lot of my energy to the work that I do, a lot of my time and my emotional labor, etc., etc. And there are some lovely people out there that want to give some of that energy back. And one very easy way to give that energy back is to pay me. And of course, you might not have the resources, and there may be other ways that you want to give your energy back to me. That's all good. All of it's good. But yeah, when I start seeing it as just like, this is me, I'm investing my energy and I'm receiving energy back in the form
Hmm.
of actual, money,
Yeah,
cash. That's
yeah,
great. And it
yeah.
it took away all the stigma that
Yeah, I mean, it's
around it.
I always describe it as neutral as well. So like the sort of phrase I always talk about is like money can feel like, if you've ever had inheritance, you'll know that money can feel like it's full of grief. Money, like when you get a windfall, it's so full of joy. It can be so exciting when you're going to buy something. It can feel like it's abandoned you when you run out of it. It can feel scary when you've got debt or you're making a really big purchase. There's so many completely opposing feelings
Yeah.
that come along with money. And when something and money at the end of the day is an object and it's an idea.
Mm,
Like I think it's energy like we've made tangible. Like
mm,
we used to exchange things and all of that sort of stuff. We don't do that now so much. Yeah, but we do have this tangible thing, even though I used to know the stat. Most money doesn't even exist, by the way.
yeah.
Most money is just numbers in banks. It doesn't exist as actual stuff. So it's like half of it is like it's a tangible thing. It's neutral. It cannot, one thing, one object cannot hold all of those feelings. We have to be putting that on it. Same with like fat's a great example. I've never thought of that, but that's brilliant. Because yeah, again, fat can't, you can't have so many different feelings about something and it be true that it's awful. For example,
Yeah.
someone in eating disorder recovery might be so happy about their fat, so happy that they can pinch a roll now and that that's sort of happening, like it feels like an achievement to them. Equally, it could be really scary to them. Somebody else, it's laziness. Like it's all these different
Yeah.
things, which means we're putting the meaning onto it. And so money is
Exactly.
neutral and energy and very, very powerful and an idea. Like those are
A
the
lot of
things it
things.
is. But it's
Yeah.
not bad. It's not unkind. It's not, money's not greedy. Like
Mm,
it's people.
yeah. Yeah. And you also taught me that it was almost like a radical act of feminism, or just a radical act, really.
Rebellion.
A rebellion. Yeah. For someone like me who
Yes.
holds these,
Yes.
oppressed identities, to make money, and also that it's okay to want to make money and to want to spend money, because
Yeah.
oh gosh, that's like
Mm.
and spend money on myself. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about spending money on, and reinvesting into the community, which is important to me,
Yeah.
but also taking home some money and going, oh, I'm going to buy something for
Yeah.
myself. I have never, ever, ever bought an item of clothing that wasn't on sale. To buy an item of clothing that is full price has never happened before, but it's one of my goals, is to
Yeah.
buy full price clothing.
Yeah,
Small goal, but yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the links to, for me, I talk about this quite a lot, but it's the links to diet culture when it comes to spending are massive. Like notice how you're a good person if you restrict your eating.
Mm-hmm,
And you're a good person if you restrict, like you're good with money. Being good with money means restricting your
mm-hmm,
money. It
mm-hmm,
means saving, it means having pots of money here and there. It doesn't mean allowing it to flow and do what it needs to do, which is a problem in itself, because
mm,
we know this, one of the big issues we have at the moment is so many people hoarding money. There is plenty of money in the world, plenty. It's just not being shared around. So yeah, there's huge kind of parallels we can draw between the way we could try and control ourselves when it comes to food and when it comes to sex. Like
mm-hmm,
I think one of the reasons that we struggle so much generally is that we are taught to uh, distrust our very basic desires. So our desire for food
mm-hmm,
from very young, even the way I used to be a breastfeeding counselor, and even the way we interact with breastfeeding and bottle feeding, we can see what we're teaching people straight away with some
mm-hmm,
of that stuff. And then like babies, and then equally, and I, by the way, that's no moral judgment either way, like it happens with both. And then even when we talk to kids about how they eat, and then particularly how that's levied at young girls, like the comments on their bodies from so early. And then just, and I grew up in the 90s was when I was a teenager, and it was diet culture like on, I don't know,
on
steroids. It
steroids. Yeah.
was cottage cheese and Rivita and cabbage soup diets and going to sleep hungry because I believed I'd eaten enough with 1,200 calories. I couldn't possibly still be hungry. That was just greed. So I denied that desire, which was a very natural desire for what I wanted, because it causes you to distrust your body. Like, how can you want more? You should be fine. You've got enough. And I could literally take those words out of the mouth of a client talking about money.
I was
How
going
can
to
I
say,
want more? I've got enough.
exactly. And also that distrust of money. Like, I don't trust money, or
Yeah.
haven't. I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned plenty, and that was a
Mm.
good segue. Well done. And you said it, and I was like, oh, ding, ding,
On
ding. Good.
brand.
Because that's my next question.
Mm.
So, for the people at home, I am part of Ray's Plenty
Mm.
course, and the beauty of this course is that you get like lifetime membership basically. For as long
Yes.
as this course exists, you're part of the Plenty community.
Yeah.
Fucking love the Plenty community. I have two communities that I'm extremely proud of, and they
Mm.
basically take up most of my time and energy because
Yeah.
that's where I want to invest my time and energy.
Yeah.
It is my wonderful community of people at the waiting room. Hello, I
Mm-hmm.
love you. And also the amazing Plenty community.
Mm-hmm.
Such a
Yeah.
great community, has taught me so much, and I love being part of it. So
Mm.
um just tell everybody about Plenty. You need to be on it. You need to join, is all I'm saying. But tell us about it, Ray.
So I think of Plenty as like a movement or a revolution, and I'm going to start talking about this more. But before I talk about the actual place, I just want to talk about the naming of Plenty, because the
Mm-hmm.
naming of Plenty was kind of a magical thing. So I realized in early 2020 that I was a money coach without a money course. I'd been a money coach for a couple of years at that point, and I'd sort of retired something. And I was like, whoa, I don't actually have a money course right now. This is like, what am I doing? So I had always hated the word abundance. I think because of its links to law of attraction, and it feels quite gaslighty to me, and I just really, it's just not a word I would ever use. I just wouldn't say in any
Mm.
conversation I was abundant. But also I did like somewhat what it was describing. I just couldn't, like, it brings up a little bit of sick in me whenever I say the word. I just couldn't do it. I have a real, like, I've got an English degree, and I think I have real, like, attachments to certain words. So for years, I was trying to come up with a different word. And I don't know where it came from. I honestly
Right.
don't. But I decided on Plenty. And I remember saying to my good friend, Nicola Ray Wickham, what do you think of this name, Plenty, for my course? And she was like, oh my God, I love it. It's like when your mum would say, you'd say to your mum, can they come round for dinner? And she'd say, of course they can. There's plenty. And
Mm-hmm.
so I looked up, after naming the course, I think it was a little while in, I looked up the meaning of plenty, which is really not like me. And I looked up the meaning of abundance. So abundance means a very large amount.
Right.
And plenty means a very large amount, more than enough.
Ooh.
And I know, and I was like, oh my God, that feels like absolute magic that I know, because that was not on purpose. But
Mm-hmm.
that kind of, I think, really gives the idea of what the difference is between the work we do in Plenty and the community we're growing, and the philosophy that we are really not just growing for ourselves and internally in ourselves, but also that, like, then comes out of the people who are in there's work. Like, that it's a really big message for me, like, it's proper revolutionary stuff. But it is that in traditional money mindset work, it's like, you can make money, there's enough, there's a very large amount, but that large amount still feels finite. And when we look back in 2020, when all the Black Lives Matter stuff was happening, for example, and a lot of coaches, and some of your people might not be involved in this, but at the time, a lot of coaches who have these huge followings were not speaking out on it. But not just that, were shutting down conversations in their world because they thought it was political, and they didn't want there to be disagreements, which what they really mean is they didn't want to lose clients.
Mm.
These are the people that are preaching abundance. I thought there was an abundance of clients. What does
Mm.
it matter if you lose some? What if it's truly abundance? And then when I looked up the meaning of the word, I was like, how interesting. It's still a large amount. That's a finite amount, whereas plenty is more than enough. So we can afford to turn away clients that don't align with our values. We can afford to be very specific with who we call in. We can therefore create much safer spaces. And so it's a whole thing. For me, it's like a real revolution that we're creating in there. And what we do in the actual community, so you come, like, you have a weekly coaching call with me,
Mm-hmm.
and which is such a gorgeous, like, I love them so much.
Me too.
And I was thinking, I actually haven't launched Plenty. since like you joined. So that was December, I think,
Yep.
November, December.
November, December time. Yep.
And I'm launching it again at the moment. And but we still get like about to up to sort of 20 people on a call. Like because there's such a real like community, like people show up over and over again. It's not a course where, and you get people who use it differently, and that's totally fine as well. But it is a really solid space
Yeah.
to be in, I think. So we have the community aspects, we have co-working, we have a Monday pep talk with, and I sort of pick a topic and tell everyone they can do it and they can go and make money. And then we also have probably my proudest work outside of the community is something called the Wheel of Conditioning, which is a framework I created, an evolving framework, which is basically like I try and describe it as like glasses that you can see the world through. It's like if you put on glasses that helped you see where your conditioning is. And so you put the glasses on and you're like, oh, that's that. And that's that. I see. And you can see stuff much more clearly.
Yeah. And what's really amazing about the course and what I went into it because I was thinking to myself, and I think a lot of people who are listening will be able to relate to this. I was in a job that wasn't working out for many reasons, but also I was exhausted. There was the autistic overwhelm, which I didn't even realize what that was at the time, which I had seen as chronic burnout. There was, I just don't know that I want to or can continue to do someone else's hours and someone else's way of doing things anymore. What if I were to switch directions? And I'm thinking about this, and then I'm thinking that's cool, but I don't know how to do that. And so I was looking at kind of business coaching and stuff like that, and I couldn't. Like even people would open their mouth, and I'd be like, no, no, switch off, can't, not interested. And what I love about you is that you're just like, if you're looking for the kind, I don't know exactly how you say it, but if you're looking for someone who will help you with spreadsheets and stuff like that,
No,
not for
it's
you.
not me.
That's
It's not me. I'm not.
no,
I'm not the one.
you're not the one. What I didn't expect coming into Plenty was that I was going to learn more about myself than I was about money. It's very interesting how, especially with the Wheel of Conditioning, this particular framework has helped me understand so many things about my life. And actually, I use the Wheel of Conditioning, Ray, I'm sorry to say it, but for way more stuff than
Oh,
money.
of course. Yeah, of course.
It's like I think about it all the time.
Me too.
I can see it in my head because I can see it, like even the colors. And even though I'm not very good at, I think I've told you this, I can't,
Aphantasia.
aphantasia, I can't see things in my mind.
Yeah.
I can't see it, but I can see the different, I know what all the different parts of the wheel are.
Yeah.
And I can sit there and I can ask myself, oh,
Yes.
toxic professionalism. Da, 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 da. I'm not going to give them
Yeah.
all away, but
It's fine.
it's brilliant. And I've learned more about me than I have about money, but I've also learned about money, and it's been really life changing. So I think if there are people out there that are thinking to themselves, I want to start my own business and be an entrepreneur, but like that seems really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, raise your woman. I don't
Hit
know
me
what to
up.
say. Yeah, raise your woman.
It's really interesting as well with the Wheel of Conditioning, because that's one of the secrets. It's not really a secret because I talk about it quite a lot, but you're like people come in and they're like, oh, it's not about money. And it's not. It's the way that we, attach these things to money. And what money is, like I said, it's a very absorbent thing. And it does attract all these different, like it's almost like a sponge for all these different feelings, and we will attach, it's one of the many things that we attach our worth to, and decide that so many people, they believe that how their business is doing absolutely lives and dies on how much money they're making or how many sales they're making, and that keeps us really, really stuck. But it's a weird thing with money where we have to have it because of the society we live in. I'm not here for this. Like, it'd be lovely to live off grid, and some people can do that. It would be lovely to live in an economy where people, although I actually don't want this, but like a lot of people will say it's more ethical for people to like pay what you can. Well, I can't pay my bills if I don't know what's coming in. That doesn't work for a lot of us. You have to be actually quite privileged to offer pay what you can, in my opinion, or you're really struggling, because it just doesn't give you doesn't give you what you need. And so this kind of the way that money shows up actually is revealing to us so much about our conditioning.
Yeah.
so much about how we've been told we have to be. And
Mm.
being able to see that stuff reveals so much about who we are, because money is a symptom, not a cause. It's
Mm.
always a symptom of something else. So if you're struggling with money, there's stuff underneath it. But part of the work you'll do with me would be like getting to the point where you're like, oh, this is neutral. And can I just say as well, Ash was talking about what I've taught them, but you have only been in Plenty a few months.
Oh,
Like, and this is like, it's deep work, but I think
yeah.
the way that we do it in there actually simplifies what could take years elsewhere to
a
uncover.
100%. And
Yeah.
I often think to myself, I'm so lucky, or it was serendipity, it was the universe. But I could have gone through, and there are quite a few people in Plenty who have had other coaches and
Yes.
who will sort of be
Yes.
like, that's not what I was
Mm,
taught. And I
yeah.
often think to myself, thank God I didn't have to
Mm,
learn all of that stuff and then unlearn a lot of that stuff, because
yeah.
a lot of the stuff I've seen, and I've just always turned it off, but a
Mm,
lot of the stuff that I've seen out there when people talk about money just seems so fake, so Instagram worthy, so like it, and gaslighty, to be honest, because
yes.
I'll often look
Yes.
at it and be like, that's not my reality.
Yes.
Whereas I feel the opposite with you. Every time you
Yeah.
say something like, oh, yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
really true.
I
And
love that though. It's my favorite.
yeah,
It's my
oh,
favorite thing.
people who have been listening to this series of the podcast, which would have started, yeah, probably like beginning of the year. So
Mm,
I started Plenty November, December
yeah.
time. We did, when were we doing the like weekly
From February.
in February?
Yeah, we did a live version of Plenty where we went through the wheel of conditioning and some of the other modules, which
Yeah,
was just glorious.
it was amazing because you can watch these videos whenever you want.
Mm,
And I had
yeah,
been watching them, but there's something about watching them together. And
yeah.
so Ray would come on and then say, let's go over to past Ray. And
Past
then
Ray, we'd
past Ray
watch
would
my
come on.
video.
We'd watch
Yeah,
the
it's
video. It
very
was
meta.
great. It was so much fun. It was such a good way of doing it. But all of that is included, which is just, it's
Mm.
amazing. Honestly.
Oh, yeah, it's a very
Not
generous
only
course. I'm not gonna
it's a very,
lie.
very generous course, because not only have I like made made my money back plus a shit ton more, um, and have absolutely like seen my income
Mm,
soar,
mm,
which is great because I can pay my bills. But if you're following this series, the evolution of Asher, and I think I have been evolving quite a bit, and people can
mm.
see that like it is tied to Plenty.
Yeah.
And you will know this because a few weeks ago I was speaking about liberals. I think
Oh,
I don't
were
remember.
you?
I think I was talking about it, and I, as you were talking about it, I was like, "Oh, that's where I learned it from."
Yeah.
I learned it
Well,
from
I learned it
Ray.
from that I kind of learned it from that comedian. I
But
talked a lot about champagne socialists, like, and the bad rap they get, like the fact that we've even got a phrase for it,
yeah,
and just like, it's just our inability to hold nuance.
yeah,
Essentially, that's a
yeah.
lot of it. Is that like we're such black and white creatures on all sides,
Mm,
and we just need to like. I think for me, and we're going to talk about this on my podcast soon, but I talk a lot about the fact, like when I'm talking about being conditioned as a woman, how separate it is to me to being a woman.
mm,
I'm very comfortable in like my identity as a woman. That feels very cohesive to me, but
yeah,
I don't identify with a lot of what I'm supposed to be as a woman.
yeah,
And for
yeah,
whatever reason, I figured that out relatively young. I remember being like, I don't have to do all of that. And I learned to hold. I actually think I learned to hold it because it's actually quite hard for me to hold nuance. I'm quite a black and white thinker. And I
mm,
think as I discovered that you didn't have to think like that, I was fascinated by these other bits of the world that exist. So I think it's just our inability to hold complexity and like and that's what I was saying before. That's my favorite thing in people. Like I love seeing people that contradict what we're meant to be like somebody maybe like, for example, somebody who presents in a masculine way but is really nurturing. Like
yeah,
I love that so much. Like I
yeah,
love that they're like confronting norms. Or
yeah,
even when I see like cis men with nail varnish on, that'll do it.
yeah,
Like those things where they're quite bold in um their masculinity maybe, but there's
yeah,
this softness. My husband's one of those people. He's like very beardy, very hairy, but
yeah.
he cried on watching Is It Cake the other day. I don't know if anyone's seen Is It Cake.
Oh, why? What? Like what she
He
said?
cries. He always says, I just cry when anyone self-actualizes.
Amazing.
Because as soon as he
Amazing.
sees someone like being themselves, so like,
Yeah.
whereas I'll cry if there's like an actual sad,
Yeah.
someone's died or something like
Yeah.
that. But he, like, when people are being themselves, and
He's
we all
touched.
like, my oldest son goes, "Oh, Daddy's gone again." Gee. But like,
That's
I
yeah,
love that in human beings,
me too.
and like,
And
like a scruffy, wealthy person. Oh, delicious, love it.
my husband the other day, actually, it's funny, we're having some work done in the house, and he was like taking out the rubbish and like doing like cleaning up as he does, because he does all the housework in the
Yeah,
house,
yeah.
basically. I'm a bit lazy like that. Um, and the people, like, they were sort of, yeah, all right, what are you up to? You look really busy. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm just like cleaning the kitchen and stuff. And he said they all looked at me funny, and I
Yeah.
couldn't understand for the longest time why they were looking at me funny. But it's so true. He has been the nurturer of the
Yeah,
children,
I
and
love that so
the
much. Yeah,
yeah, and the
it's
he looks after the home. Yeah,
yeah, and it's such a nice, like,
yeah,
I can't really explain why I love that so much, but I just love seeing human beings being more than what they've been, like the spaces they've been given.
yeah,
And I think we can bring that into money making. And I think we must bring that into money making. My podcast is called The Real You Makes Real Money, because a lot of us are believing we've got to shrink or change or adapt in order to make money. And then we're not making money, and we're trying harder to shrink and change and adapt
mm,
because we're like, oh, I can't be doing it hard enough.
yeah,
Therefore, I need to shrink some more, and then I'll make more money.
yeah,
And actually, it's the opposite, because money, what money really responds to, and this is why people like Trump and Bezos and all of those and Elon Musk make so much money, is because they never question that they can.
yes,
They don't count themselves out. They just keep going. And so, like, that's what money responds really well to, because it's such a sponge. It's just like, it's like, oh, they're being themselves,
yeah,
which is worrying, by the way. But I think Trump is 100% being himself. I mean, how, like, I think he is. I also don't think he's not the best example of a rich person, because I'm not sure how much money he's actually got.
God, yeah,
But, but I think it's really interesting to watch those people just know, or not even know, because it's not conscious, just never question why they
yeah.
would be worth that money. Why wouldn't that be available to them?
And even when they do really stupid things, like Elon
Yeah.
Musk buying Twitter, and like
Yeah.
um, even when he's, I mean, he's actually an example of how to fail at making money,
Yeah.
and yet one of the richest people in the world. Like, isn't that
Yes.
amazing watching him do all these ridiculously stupid things with zeros at the end of them that you just think,
So brazenly as well. Like, so brave. Like, I think people without any knowledge of business looked at him changing Twitter to X and went,
mm,
"What are you doing?"
yeah,
Because everyone still calls it X, formerly Twitter. Because
yeah,
if you say X, no one knows what you mean, which is
exactly.
like that. It's just like the most ridiculous thing. Like, and this is it, like, we think that money rewards perfection, and money comes to us when we get things right. Look, like, I don't know why I'm on your podcast saying this feels like ridiculous, but there are actually things we can learn from those billionaires
Yeah,
in terms of, like, I'm not saying cause harm or anything like that, but look at the stuff that we are
yeah,
tying ourselves in knots over,
yeah,
failures wise. And
yeah.
like, he's still banging on with Twitter,
He
like he's
is.
still doing it.
He won't give up. He won't give it up. And well, you know what? There is something to be learned there, definitely.
Really.
I mean, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
want to be like Elon Musk, but there's something to learn from everyone. Absolutely.
There's a lot with those people to not do, like to
Yeah,
look at and not do. So that's
yeah,
learning. But
yeah,
yeah, that kind of brazenness, you know, obviously it can be harmful to people, but we can also channel it and be like, if Elon Musk can fail that loudly and proudly, I can do whatever it is that's getting in my way. Like,
yeah,
I can put out an offer that maybe doesn't sell, because I'll learn how to sell the next one.
yeah.
And actually, that's, I think that happens to all of us. My first offer that I put out, I always tell this story, but it didn't even get a like on the posts.
Oh my,
Wasn't even that
that's
it
funny.
didn't sell. It didn't sell, but it didn't even get a like on the posts.
Oh,
Imagine. But here I am.
here you are, and it's been such a delight to talk to you. Honestly, you've created this wonderful community, and it is a sign of it. it's absolutely a sign. No, what's the word I'm looking for? It's because of your leadership, and it's because of
Oh,
you've
thanks.
created this. It's such a lovely community, and it's a community of people who honestly, day one have been supportive of me, and
Mm.
I've made friends. I've actually, like, I talk about Jolie sometimes, because I've been doing
Jolie.
coaching with Jolie, who's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm definitely gonna have to get her on the podcast. But
Yeah.
she I met through Plenty, and quite a few people have, and it's just such a lovely community.
I
So I
mean,
know,
Jolie met her partner through Plenty.
I
Like,
mean,
we have a Plenty love story,
we
which
have
is
a Plenty.
which is my favorite thing
It is.
ever.
And
Yeah.
they are always they're there every week, aren't they, on a
Yes.
Thursday? And it's just lovely. It's like
Yeah.
I go there sometimes just to see you all and be like,
Yeah.
friends, I've missed
Yeah.
you.
My
How's your
friends.
week going?
Yeah.
But obviously I know you're in the middle of launching that.
Mm.
But yeah, but where else can people find it? So if people have listened and like, oh, I like this, Ray. How do I get more of this, Ray?
So the best places to find me, I would say, are my podcast, which is called Real You, Real Money, which you can find
Yeah,
in all the podcast places. My Instagram, and I really encourage people to join my email list. You
yeah.
can do that, just join it. Or you can sign up. I've got two freebies. There's one called the pricing with feeling flowchart, which is a thing that really helps you figure out what you're feeling about and how that interacts with your conditioning. And I also have a new one, which I've forgotten the exact name of because it's brand new, which is basically like it's about simple selling, like how to make sales more simply.
I saw that on
So
your
both of
website.
those. Yes, that's
You
all
can just
new. Very
you can
exciting.
download it, you can watch it, and
Yes,
you're in.
download it and get it immediately. Both of those things are immediate, like things that you can get. So
Yeah.
those are that like I always encourage, like, really, if you're a podcast person, which you probably are because you're listening to this, my podcast is the best way to like get a sense of how I work. And one of the reasons Plenty works as a community is because I do my best to show up as me. So I'm attracting the people that get on with me, and then they get on with each other.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible thing. I actually did an event once, and I hired people in to talk to people in case anyone was left on the sides, and nobody was left on the sides because
Yeah.
they just all got on so well. And
Yeah.
that's a really amazing part of like doing this work in these spaces that I can't promise safety, but they are as close as I can get them to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I will attach my name to that and say I
Mm.
agree. I concur from experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously I will put links to all of these things. But if you're definitely do your pricing flowchart, I still use that every time I'm
Yeah.
pricing
Oh,
anything.
do you? Nice.
Oh
I love
yeah,
that so
like in
much.
fact, every time. So Nicola, who is Fat Positive Fertility,
Mm.
Nicola and I are both in Plenty, and we both we do every 2 weeks we meet up and we
Mm.
talk, and every time I'm like, oh, what. We're thinking about pricing, so like, a
Mm.
masterclass or something. It's always like, right, let's go to the first flow chart
No, I
and get
love that you do
up
that.
together. So I
So
still
good.
use it, even though I know
Mm.
exactly what he's going to say. I still do it because it's an actual flow chart, and I like me a flow chart.
Exactly. It's a really good for like visual, particularly
Yes.
neurodivergent brains to like
Yeah.
go, oh, it's that and that and that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So make the most of it because it's really good. And thank you so much for talking about money in such a lovely and safe way. And I hope everyone else is feeling the same way as I am, which is just like a lovely.
It's so nice, isn't it? It's like the moment that I don't know if you remember this, but I vividly remember finding out about fat positivity and like
Yeah.
and it blowing my mind, and that kind of internal like, oh, wait a minute, could that be okay? Could
Yeah.
that be
Yeah.
something? Could that be something I can like almost put my feet down
Mm-hmm.
with?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's the same with money, like that idea that we can just talk about it and it be normal, and you can share your wobbles, and you can go after more, and you can do whatever you want around it, and it's okay, like you're allowed
Yeah.
to do that. It's like a real internal like, exhalation
It's a
with it.
big exhale. Thank you so much for that wonderful exhale, Ray. And I will see you very shortly. And I hope that
Yeah.
other people will join us. And
Yes,
I might see some of you in Plenty. That'd be really
that
exciting.
would
We
be
can work
incredible.
together. Thanks once
Okay.
again. I'm going to press
Okay.
stop now, but I'm not going to leave. So don't you leave. But everyone else has got to leave
The
now. That's
podcast
the end.
false end.
The podcast is ending now. Oh
Bye.
no, before it does.
What?
No, before it
What?
does.
What?
You'll be so proud of me for this, Ray. I'm taking a
Mm.
holiday. I'm
Oh,
I'm going on holiday. I'm taking a break. I don't mean like, necessarily going on holiday. I'm having a holiday from my podcast. I'm taking 2 weeks off because I can. just because I can.
Nice.
I've done 20 episodes. I'm going to take a 2 week break, and then I'm going to come back with something special to tell you all about in a couple of weeks' time. So I'll see you then.
Nice.
Now we're definitely going to press stop. Thanks so much, Ray.